Hello, I'm Silence. I'm a Monster Hunter speedrunner, and I'm planning on creating a series where I explain several things about how speedruns work and other topics around that. For the first episode, I want to talk about speedrunning for the first time and how motivation has a huge role in this area. And with this, I'm also including an interview with some speedrunners. Their Twitter will be linked to the description if you want to give them a follow, and the entire interviews will be linked in a different video. I will leave the timestamps in the description if you don't want to watch the entire video, but I really suggest watching the entire video if this is the first time that you are speedrunning the game. I'm also going to include some useful tips that even some speedrunners could take into account. This way I can also help some beginners that are watching this video. First, I will suggest joining a community like Discord or Twitter and find someone that uses the same weapon as you so they can pass to you the technique. There are a lot of things that you will need to learn, things like positioning, when to be aggressive, and how to stay in the correct place to keep doing damage. But here I'm going to try to cover what I consider the most important principles to be better. Positioning is probably the most important principle here. With this one, you need to understand how the monster's moveset works and also understand the tools at your disposal to keep the disadvantage and deal more damage. You need to understand how a monster reacts depending on your position. Maybe he throws a fireball, maybe he uses a tail swipe. You want to find a way not only to react to that, but also know how to evade this attack to keep your advantage and deal more damage. Not only that, but you also need to take into account what happens after the monster does an attack. If he does a tail swipe and you evade it to the left, maybe next time he's going to bite you, so you need to be sure about what could happen after an action was taken. But positioning not only helps you to do more damage, this also helps you at evading attacks without the use of evasive maneuvers. For example, this is the reason why no roll hunts exist. It's because these players position themselves in a spot where they can both evade and punish the monster without using things like rolls. I know that you maybe want to have a good run where you don't fail, but right now you want to have a good learning curve, and the best way to do so is by learning from your mistakes. If you fail an attack with your DS, don't reset, keep playing. This way it's easier to improve and learn past your errors, and you also save some time with the resets. You can make a lot of mistakes even in your best runs, don't try to stress yourself over that. Right now, try to keep producing runs instead of right away having a personal best run. Try to practice against a monster that you like, but also take into account stuff like the random spawn. If that's the case, maybe you should consider a different thing, like a special arena or something like that. This one consists of being able to recognize the monster's patterns, openings, and also recognizing your errors while playing. Adapting consists of adjusting yourself into a new condition, and with this, you need to find a solution to the problem. In this aspect, you need to think about what you're doing when you have an opening, the monster is in a favorable or unfavorable position, how you react to getting hit, and the way you usually move to evade and find an opening. Something that I do, for example, is that I don't watch my character. What I do is that I only observe the monster. This way you are able to see and recognize new things and also helps you in staying focused on the monster attacks. This also helps you in reacting faster to the monster's attacks and understand how you can apply your playstyle with the monster's moveset. This is going to be a weird thing to explain. Having a good motivation and mentality helps you to focus on the game, makes it easier to understand what's going wrong or right, and helps you to stay in a good pace, and also makes your run way more consistent and better. Remember that when you start a speedrun, you will need to reset sometimes, maybe because of the AI or an error you did. It is normal if you feel burned out, just try to find a way to not let this bad mentality get you. If you feel bad, try to eat something, draw or hear music. If you feel like your expectations are not met, Maybe try recording some runs and watch them. This way it's easier to find mistake that you didn't spot before. If your expectations are low when speedrunning, the easier it is to have a good mentality. That's the reason why a lot of people set small goals in their long-term growth, so they don't feel stressed over the long amount of effort and they need to apply it to achieve that long-term goal. Practicing should be relaxing and chill. If you get frustrated, you will cloud your vision and have a hard time learning and practicing techniques. Remember that you also need to take a break. Some world record speedrunners sometimes take some free months, so when they come back, they have a new and refreshing experience. In fact, the most successful speedrunners tend to be the ones that spend around 5 to 50 hours per week. This is because having a healthy lifestyle helps them to stay in a healthy mindset and makes it so they don't get burned out by playing the game. There's also a weird dilemma where not being satisfied with your run actually helps you, but this is something that you're not going to experience in a long time. But remember that you're doing this for fun, and see where you can push your skills. If you are satisfied with your run, then everything is done, but if you feel like you can improve your own time further, then you will feel like your personal best run was bad. And that's one of the reasons why speedrunners say that their run sucks. Most of the fun that comes from speedrunning is beating your best time, and you don't need to be the best player to have that. Am I good at the game? Don't focus on those things. Remember that you don't have to be the best speedrunner. You just need to have fun and also feel happy and relieved when you achieve your goals.
That's fucking right. I skipped 113. I am a fucking legend. I've never seen a 113 and I never fucking will. 112, baby. To the day I fucking die. Yes! About time I get a fucking lucky break in this fucking game, motherfuckers, and I clutch the goddamn grenade launcher. That's fucking right! Look at that, see how fast my pace is? Right in the fucking head! Yeah! Got a fucking 112, baby! That's right, you see that clutchness? I am fucking clutch! Look at the fucking pace! 50, 49, 47, baby! That's fucking right! That's fucking it! Fucking pumped watching this one again. I waited the cinema too because I said, oh my god, it might be 112. And it fucking is! It fucking is, baby! Yeah!
And with this, I'm going to end the video with the highlights from the interviews. The entire interviews will be uploaded later and I'm going to add them in the description. Thanks for watching everything. Well, for the first question, what made you start speedrunning Monster Hunter?
Let's see, what made me start speedrunning Monster Hunter? I'd honestly have to say the first steps to me at least starting to consider speedrunning Monster Hunter was back in 4U when I saw Kanta Perme do the, what was that quest? One where you had to fight the Apex Diablos, Apex Regios, and Apex Deviljo. The Master's Test or something like that. But anyways, like I was seeing them do those quests with such ease, I'm like, holy shit, man. I freaking suck. I want to be that good. And so, like, without really considering it, it's like, well, I don't know if I want to be a speedrunner, but I at least want to be good at the game. But I don't think I actually started to speedrun until Monster Hunter Generations. And in which case, I think the first monster I started speedrun was actually Hyperwraithian. And it was because I had nothing better to do on this super long-ass car trip.
Yeah, and I think you later of that went into Samtrios?
Yeah, Zamtrios was the next one. I remember doing Adept Dual Blades with Zamtrios, and I think I made somewhere around 305, 310 range.
Yeah, I think I actually remember that run.
I was like, yeah, this is pretty hot. I'm enjoying this. And then my 3DS broke. And then I was out of Monster Hunter speedrunning for a long time until World came out.
Yeah, that also
like,
happened with me. I 100% relate to that. Okay, question 2. What keeps you motivated to keep speedrunning?
Well. When I started running, I still didn't have a clear idea of what made a run good. Like, yeah, I had some knowledge about the game, but I didn't really know how to kill a monster as fast as possible, to do it as efficiently as possible. So I just used to try a monster non-stop until I got a respectable time, and then uploaded it to YouTube or, well, not Twitter. But at that time I still used YouTube, and I didn't even have like a serious Twitter account. But then over time, I started realizing that all fights followed some kind of script, you know, that they were actually predictable, and you could divide the run in different sections, and then all of them could unfold until the monster died. And depending on the AI the monster gave you, like the patterns, you could complete those sections of the run faster or slower. So pretty much once you get the script figured out, I think it's much easier to stay focused, since like you're gonna be aiming for something specific. You know what you have to do, rather than aimlessly do attempts until something good comes out of it. Because I think it's much easier to stay motivated to achieve certain goal if you know what it takes to do it. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, something similar to what I'm actually trying to show in the video, that having like a goal or something like that helps you in understanding what you are trying to achieve, and also helps you to stay motivated.
Yeah, because it's like you're not lost when doing the run. You actually know what you have to do in every section. Like, it's just a matter of knowing how the run works from beginning to end, and depending on RNG, you'll be able to complete certain sections faster or slower. And the point is getting that run in which every section gives you the best RNG you can get, you know, and that's basically how you do it. Like, as long as you know you have to do that, I think it's pretty easy to keep going and going and going until you finally manage to do it.
Yeah, it's like a type of script, but there's also some gamble in it, that you need to have a ton of luck with the RNG.
Yeah. It's definitely that. It's definitely that. Like, I will speak about this later in the interview, because it's quite a curious, you know, a pretty interesting topic.
Yeah, for example, in one there was what was the monster? It was Hyper Cerealos and Hyper Goldrathian that was doing an SNS run. I got really tired of it because I had some pretty shit luck, and
Yeah.
I went to play Iceborne and got a world record with like Bogon, and it was my first attempt, and I was like, this is just gamble.
No,
How?
what the fuck? Yeah. It's all about RNG. Like, that usually, I think that almost never happens. Like, you probably got extremely lucky. Like, you have to work to get a world record. You know, if you get it, in the first attempt, it's probably be because you can push it further. You know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? But yeah, it was kind of a lucky strike.
Question 3. Why do you think it's important to have a good motivation?
That question is probably one of the more simple ones in terms of speedrunning. If you don't have motivation, you're either A, not going to improve, or B, just quit altogether.
Yeah, I
Like, the hobby as a whole requires you to have motivation to improve, or just have motivation in general to keep doing it.
yeah, like keeping a dedication into it.
And like, I think that extends across any speed game that you can possibly look at. Most runners, at least at a high level, like, of course there are lower level runners or people who decide they want to try speedrunning and then realize it's not for them, but anybody who's at a high tier or gets into the hobby and decides they want to do multiple games or they want to really get into it, they're going to more or less find motivation to the point where they stay in it and keep trying to improve.
Yeah, I actually see that, for example, in myself, that I only speedrun for fun, to be honest, not because I want to be famous or something. It's just for fun. But the problem is that when you speedrun a game, you can't stop speedrunning any other game. Like, I don't know why that happens. Like, you get so obsessed with being faster and faster and faster that you start speedrunning other games without even knowing.
Yeah, I've noticed myself do that a couple of times where I just get done with one speed game and I decide to play a game that I think I'm going to play casually, and it's just like I eventually see myself going faster in that game too.
And it's like, oops, wait, I'm speedrunning this game too.
Oh no, speedrunner brain.
Yeah, that happens. That really happens a lot of time. What type of goals did you have while speedrunning?
Oh yeah, there's that one. I'm looking at it on my cheat sheet. So my main goal is just to play more Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
But there's something else in there. This is something I think maybe should be talked about more. I don't know. When I started in Generations, I think that was my healthiest or purest speedrunning experience, because of like just playing more Monster Hunter and looking for self-improvement. And I had one Brazilian friend that we also liked to compete with each other. It was kind of funny because I played Aerial Charge Blade and he played Crawler. So we were both using like bottom of the weapons. And we liked to throw shit on each other, like, oh, your weapon's so terrible, but yeah, both were. But at that time, since we were just starting, and it was just between the two of us, I think it was nice because we didn't really demand so much of ourselves. Of course, we're starting to get better, but we, at the time, look at times at the TA Wiki, for example, when you're starting out, and of course, you'd see like Valor Heavy Bowgun and Valor Longsword. You just can't compete with Aerial Charge Blade and Crawler. But we would look like at the Charge Blade or the Crawler times, and we wouldn't be that close. We were starting out. And it was fine, you know? We just liked to look at them to see what could be done, and we wouldn't get anywhere near that, and we'd think, what the fuck, how do you get there? And eventually you'd get, like, within 2 minutes or 1 minute of the times in the wiki, and you'd feel like, oh my fucking god, this is great! Yeah, dude, you go! Yeah, you're taking that shitty weapon! Move away! And it was really nice, really pure. It was just fun.
Yeah, I can actually see that.
I think that changed a bit in me, and I don't think that was nice. In World, I think was you could stagger lock monsters a lot more easily and stuff, so I think persistence would pay off a lot more than usual. Because, yeah, you just keep the monster locked down for 80% of the run, and it was just 2 or 3 minutes anyway, so you could try a lot of runs, despite the loading screens. And eventually get something, so I'd get really close to a world record or get a world record. And I think that kind of got to my head. So, yeah, I started feeling like, oh, I'm the real shit here, yeah. And by the time Iceborne dropped, monsters got tankier again, right? It's not as easy to keep them all locked down. Some weapons can do that on some monsters, like you can see Aqua's hammer runs, for example, where he uses claggers and KOs, and it's really crazy to watch. But Switch X wasn't having any of that. So once again, it was hard to get at the top times. And I started feeling bad at times, like, oh god, I'm doing so bad. I was the guy, how am I not the guy anymore? And it's okay, you know, I just think I was never really the guy. It was an easier time in World, and it's not anymore. You can't just brute force your way, like the raw skill part becomes more important again, and I don't think I'm there, and it's okay. So I eventually got to the point where it's okay, like I just do my best and improve as much as I can, and it's okay, like trying to get back to my old mindset of let's just have fun and self-improve and all that jazz, but like, okay, it's nice to compare yourself to the top, see how far you can go in World and Iceborne. It's much easier to record runs, like in GU it's super hard to find recorded runs. And you can watch the guys and see what you can learn. And it's okay if you don't get there. It's fine.
Yeah, it's...
And in my sport, I also started doing my commentated runs. And that's another motivation. Like, I really like doing that. I think I hope, at least, it helps bridge the gap a bit. Because sometimes if you're not into speedrunning and watch a speedrun, like, not everything can be clear to you. I think especially in some runs like Garuga, where people just don't attack for a while, because you want to let Garuga fly and dunk it. But that might not be obvious if you're not speedrunning. Like, why wouldn't you attack it? You want to do damage, give it faster. What's faster than dealing more damage, right? Dealing damage in a smart way, but that's not trivial to understand.
How many hours per week did you dedicate to that run, approximately?
That question is more subjective to the type of run. Like, if I was actually really grinding a run, it would be like 5+ hours a day I'd be going at that one specific run. Like, if we look at when I got my 47-second Otogaron run, it was, I think I put almost 2 weeks into that run, and it was anywhere from like 5 to 8 hours a day I just spent on that one specific run. I think I took like 2 days off in 2 weeks from that run.
Jesus Christ, that's actually a lot of time. Like, for example, I think the amount of time that I dedicate weekly to a speedrun is like 6 hours.
The most insane thing that was the most insane one I've ever done Monster Hunter related. At one point I think I was doing like 7 hours a day of Odyssey runs, but when a run is an hour each, that's literally like, 7 runs a day unless I reset a lot.
Yeah, that actually makes sense, but still, that's a crazy long time.
Yeah, when I decide it's time to grind a run, I find the time.
And what was your idea, the thought that you have when you finish the speedrun?
The thought I had when I finished that one was finally, but usually the thought at the end of a run is, I usually don't stop with runs until I'm happy with them, so usually the thought is, I'm finally happy with this run, so I'm going to move on to another one.
Oh, wait, I'm actually surprised that you didn't feel like you lost a lot of time in your life of speedrunning.
Look, when you get into the hobby, you more or less accept, I'm about to spend a lot of my life playing this video game.
The worst part is that you're correct in that part. When I was talking with Roku, he said basically the same thing, that, Jesus, we spent a lot of time in this thing.
You more or less look back sometimes after you're done with a game, and you look at the time you have in that one specific game, your only reaction is, man!
Basically. Oh no. Question 6. What did you like the most about speedrunning?
Honestly, I think the thing that I really like the most about speedrunning is setting that goal for yourself, and then once you make that goal, you're like, yeah, I did it. I finally made it. But then there's that little piece of you, it's like, some things here and there can be improved a little bit more. Let's see how much lower we can keep going.
Oh yeah, I actually talked about that in the video about frustration, and the weird dilemma where not being satisfied with your run actually helps you in getting a better time.
But the funny thing is, like, you're still satisfied when you meet that personal best, but then there's like, but what if?
Yeah, that's the part. There's a small part of you trying to say, you can do better, you can do it.
Yeah, but it's not like a negative, like, you could do better. But it's more like, man, let's try an extra push-up. It's like working out. It's like, okay, maybe today I could do one more push-up.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's something
another-
like that.
Until you just like either run out of patience, run out of mental stamina to keep on going, or you just gotta do something else.
Well, next question, I'd say.
Final one. Any tips for someone trying to start speedrunning?
Well, yeah, I have one. I think it's important for you to start with a good basis. Like, in order to start speedrunning, you should at least have a good grasp of the game mechanics, how your weapon works and how the monster behaves as well. Because, yeah, once you get into the hunt, you will start learning new openings and ways to use your weapon more effectively for that hunt and for that monster, but you must know at least what you're doing to some extent before jumping into it. I've only encountered an exception to this, and I'm actually gonna talk about a friend of mine. I've been friends with him for around a year now, and I found him on Twitch. He's a French guy. He's called Leo, and the story that I'm gonna tell right now, it's actually fucking insane. You know, this guy was relatively new to the game. He had played other entries in the series, but in GU he had only mained one weapon. It was Valor Longsword, and he barely had 100 hours on the clock in that game. And I remember going to Twitch, finding his stream, getting into it, and he was doing Hellblade DX.
Okay.
And he was pretty bad, I gotta admit. He was trying to beat the monster without using healing items, without sharpening his weapon. He tried to get like a clean hunt, you know? Like, he wanted to try and beat it just like Thebra did. Of course, he was not gonna be able to do it, because Zebra is a fucking god, but he wanted to try and do something alike. And at that time I had good experience with Hellblade, and I knew I could help him do it. So I jumped in the stream, and he suddenly ended it. And I was like, no, fuck! So I typed in his chat that it was a shame that he was leaving already, but then he spoke to me through DMs, and he told me that he could be doing more attempts in the future. And from that time I always went to his streamings, and I tried to teach him, that he could not depend on Valor stancing, and that he could not depend on the parries all the time, because unless you're Zebra and you manage to kill the fucking Hellblade with just one Valor gauge, at the time you run out of Valor and you don't have the opening sequence to get the Valor gauge, the roar he has at the beginning, he covers his tail and throw in powder, you will not have that once you have run out of Valor mid-hunt. So I taught him that he could not abuse the Valor stance, because that depletes your health like crazy. And I taught him how to iframe his attacks, like the tail slam, a tail spin. I taught him what he used to do when he was in rage, when the tail was powdered, stuff like that, and I also taught him to iframe the explosion that comes after the super tail slam, and it was incredible. That dude was fucking gifted. I'm telling you, he barely knew anything about the game, and he managed to get so good in just 4 fucking days. 4. He iframed everything flawlessly for 8, 9, 10 minutes until he died. And of course, when he died, he didn't want to come back to it because he didn't want a card. He wanted to do it. He wanted to do it in like one attempt,
Yeah.
And the dude, after 3 weeks of, well, I first want to talk that he was very, very receptive. Like, he never questioned me, or he never showed himself entitled to his wrongdoings, if you want to call it like that. Like, he never told me to fuck off and tell me, no, who the fuck are you, you know? Why are you telling me this? No, he listened, actually. And I remember that one day I even did a streaming only for him, doing Hellblade attempts, so only so I could show him some strats. And he, after 3 weeks, he managed to get a sub 10.
Ooh.
3 weeks of practicing without barely even knowing anything about the game, against one of the hardest EX fights in the game. He got a fucking sub 10.
That's
a sub 10,
really
man.
nice.
I know sub 10 isn't really that impressive by speedrunning standards, because fucking Zebra has a
something that someone that doesn't really speedrun or does things like this. It's actually really nice.
Yeah, this guy managed to get an incredible time at a casual level, of course, but he managed to get he got so good that at one time I thought, this one is getting better than me, you know? And I had more experience than him at the game in general. It was truly a sight to behold, man.
It's nice to make some waves, maybe. I think the commentary runs also help with that. And I think this kind of video you're making also helped with that. Like, the other day, Benji commentated on one of my videos. Benji is like one of the best Switch X brothers in Iceborne currently, I think. And he said that, like, my commentary runs helped him start out, and oh boy, I was like, oh god, I made a difference. I helped that guy who is so much better than me right now. Maybe without that commentary he wouldn't be there? I don't know. I hope he would. I hope he would be. It's nice, and then hopefully you can touch someone like that too, you know? Like, someone watches this video and thinks, oh hey, maybe. Those guys are crazy anyway, but they're crazy in the way I like, so it's hard to be crazy like them. And then maybe down the road someone says, oh Silence, your video got to me, and then I started doing it, and you're kind of a big deal now, and then, God, that was nice.
Yeah, I hope it does, and even if it doesn't, it's just like you said, I'm just going to have fun doing this. I can't believe the amount of times that I either laughed or had a smile while I'm doing these interviews.
I can't wait to hear from everyone else. I think you interviewed 5 people total, counting me, right?
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to hearing from the other 4 guys.
I think the most important thing is knowing how the fight works.
Yeah, it's...
With the concept of the script concept I keep talking about.
Yeah, the script is really important in my opinion. It's like, you need to know how the hunt is supposed to start, then how it goes, and then finishing it. If you follow the script, then sometimes you get a sub 3, and if things go correctly, sometimes it's like 230 or something like that. Sí, Español, Spanish. Yeah, it's exactly like that. And once you have that figured out, I think the times won't be so different one from the other. Like I already talked about how different times can be, but once you have that, times won't fluctuate as much, in my opinion.
I would have to say for sure another really important mentality that you have to have is the willingness to learn every single time you either succeed or fail, or maybe just do a little mediocre. Because if you're not willing to learn from every single run that you do, it's going to get harder for you to keep on improving, and eventually you'll just kind of hit that wall and you're just scratching your head, what the hell am I doing wrong? I'm trying to fight the monster, I'm button mashing as much as I can, trying to get Oonga Boonga fast. But it's like, whoa, hold up. Sometimes you gotta take a step back. sometimes, as ironic as it is, the way to go fast is to slow down.
In speedrunning, there's always a community per game if it has a speedrun following, and being in, be it a Discord or any other social media page, you're more or less glad that you can go somewhere where there are like-minded people that you can talk to about optimizing something or getting times down lower.
Yeah, it's like sharing your progress and people helping you or motivating you to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There have been a lot of times where I've been grinding a run and the only thing that is going through my mind is, why do I keep going on this? And then take it into like a Discord chat or something else, and other runners just motivate you to keep going, to keep pushing it.